So this is the David Bradley one horse mower I'm about to start rebuilding and painting, or at least rebuilding as much as I possibly can. Um, David Bradley's is kind of rarish as far as mowers go. This is probably only the second one I've seen. The last one I think I saw was about 2 years ago. I think it brought $900, and quite frankly, I would have brought it home and rebuilt it. Um, David Bradley is also unique in the fact that I think they're the only mower that actually uses steel for their frames. The axle tube, I believe, is going to be steel. This framework all in here is going to be steel. In fact, I think let me take this gearbox lid off first. So I think it's actually going to be an enclosed gearbox for oil too. Now there's a lot of goop in there now, but yeah, I'm thinking that's an oil bath gearbox, which is kind of, I don't know of another one who did it. And the other thing is, I also think, quite frankly, if I would take this axle out, I think I can take this whole cast iron assembly out away from the frame, so I can work on it, a little easier to get it all loose and everything. Everything is frozen solid. The flywheel is frozen, which means this shaft is frozen. This is probably bronze bushings in there. I can't imagine it's bearings, but I'm not sure. I'd almost say for certain it's bronze bearings or bronze bushings. The wheels are both frozen on the axle. I wouldn't surprise me if the axle is not frozen inside that tube there. So there's a lot of work ahead, freeing stuff up without breaking, and that's always, it's always a touchy moment. The other thing, I don't quite understand this tube, if that's original or not. And I say that because I don't know where the wood would go. I don't think you'd want a wood pole inside of there, because if it's tight enough to fit in there, you've got issues. Number one, it's almost going to be possible to get in there tight, and if it's too loose, because the bolts are going to tighten down on this metal before it tightens down the wood, which means the wood is always going to flop around and wobble. David Bradley literature is actually kind of rare, but I'm going to try and find a picture. I think, no, that tube is welded to the frame. So there's actually a little buttress that comes up and welds to the bottom of that tube. So that shot that idea. I was thinking maybe that's not original, but I believe it is going to be original. I'll know more when I take it apart more. But yeah, everything is froze. The wheels are frozen to the axle. Both wheels are. The flywheel is frozen inside of there. But I'm kind of excited to see if this cast iron part here does come away from the steel frame. I mean, it has to, because they didn't cast them together. But the issue is, and I've talked about this a lot to customers, it's kind of a win-loss, kind of cut your losses, or do the cons and pros. Number one, to get that axle out of there, obviously the wheels have to be loosened up no matter what. But to get that axle there, one of these two pawl holders has to be taken out so the axle can slide left and right. And my experience is they're usually pretty tough to take out. Now the other thing is, and I'll see how it goes, but I actually might consider just making a brand new axle for it, and then see what happens. I'm going to see how it loosens up, and if I loosen up, I'm thinking that right there might be the bare axle. I'm pretty sure, which means I could actually cut it right there, and just again work on it when it's out of the machine. A lot less likely to break stuff if I can put it in a good press or whatever. And the next thing to look at, obviously it's going to need new guards, new knife, new ledger plates, new wear plates, and not ledger plates, because I'm thinking more than likely the McCormick Deering, the guards I use in McCormick Deering mowers will work on this mower. I won't know. What's going to prevent that is if these guards are tilted up or down. That's what's going to determine what guards can go on there. The one thing you will always struggle, and I've preached this in the past, 1-horse mowers are just weird. They're goofy. A lot of goofy parts that you won't find anywhere else. They're just goofy. The one thing that's going to be a struggle is this ledger plate on this outer bar, outer shoe. They're always a struggle. There was never any kind of get together on what was, a common piece. John Deere and McCormick Deering are not interchangeable with each other. You just don't find stuff in interchanges. David Bradley has to be David Bradley. John Deere has to be John Deere. International has to be International. So that's always a struggle. That ledger plate on the outer shoe, this ledger plate on the inner shoe is going to be a struggle too. And 9 times out of 10, they need replaced. This is a very fancy cap. So it actually looks pretty good. I don't think there's going to be a problem. But in a pinch, that looks like it's you can make it. You can fabricate it if you have to. I'm really surprised the pins aren't froze up, that cutter bar dropped down like that. That's actually pretty shocking to me. And the other thing I have to look at this. Oh, this is where your draft rod would go over to your single tree. Okay. So yeah, and this obviously would sit on top here. I am very confused about this tube though. Really confused. I definitely gonna have to figure something out. You'd almost, instead of wood short tongue out here, you almost want to make it metal, but I just can't imagine they did that. But I don't know. I'll try and find some pictures and we'll go from there. But this is the mower that's gonna be taken apart, hopefully without breaking anything. Painted, put back to service workable condition, and winter's on its way, so I'm going to bring some other stuff in here, but this will be one of the things to tackle over winter, and we'll see how it turns out. As far as color schemes go, I'm hoping when I start taking stuff apart, I'll, underneath the bolts or something, maybe some colors that still show. It's my experience, David Bradley really didn't use the best paint. I've had David Bradley hay rakes over the years, David Bradley manure spreaders over the years. Like I say, I have those two 2-horse mowers that are David Bradley, and I want to say I've had corn planters over the year, but now I'm rethinking that. But I'm thinking I did. I also believe they made hammer mills and wagons, but I'm thinking it's some kind of green and some kind of red. But the thing is, on the hay rake, I'm thinking I remember yellow for some reason. But if I can't find anything, I'll probably do a green frame with red wheels and red wood parts. So this is one of the projects that's going to be done hopefully by the middle of winter or the end of winter. So we'll see what happens.